Greetings and welcome to Lizard Creations. For this video, I'm going to show you how I attach the wire to the back of a painting so that it hangs relatively flat against the wall and it's easy to level. Let's get started. Something to consider when hanging a painting is the size and weight of your artwork and the surface that it will be hung on and where it will be hung. Not all galleries accept all types of hangers. There is a variety of hooks and fasteners and you need to select the type suitable for your requirements. Since the paintings I will be wiring are not very heavy, under 5 pounds, and they will be hung on drywall, I have selected an appropriate size hook, nail, D-rings, and screws. Before you get started, make sure you identify the top of the painting. It is easy with this painting, but on abstracts, you need to locate the signature, which typically is at the bottom of the painting. I begin by using the hook I plan to use as a guide. I mark the location of the bottom of the hook. When hung, the wire will loop through the hook in the center of the painting. Note that the hook will be below the interior of the frame. That often provides a little extra space behind the painting when hung so that the painting sits closer to the wall. I measured the distance from the interior edge of the frame to the mark, which is 1 1/4 inches. If you are hanging multiple paintings beside each other and want the tops to all be at the same height, it will simplify the task if you select the painting with the widest frame and then standardize the offset by measuring from the outer edge of the frame. The hooks on the wall can then be at the same height. For the size of this painting, I double the measurement from the interior of the frame to the bottom of the hook and then mark that off on each side. In this case, 2.5 inches. On a larger, heavier painting, I may multiply the length by 3. At a maximum, I never put the wire fasteners lower than 1/4 the height of the painting. I use the marks to align the D-ring hooks, which I screw into the wooden frame. These are barnboard frames that I made, so they are rustic. At this point, I leave the D-rings loose. When it comes to wire, I prefer a plastic-coated wire. Not all wire is the same. There are different thicknesses, finishes, number of strands, and weight ratings. The wire I use is rated for 20 pounds. Once the rings are attached, I begin fastening the wire by feeding it through one ring and pulling it across to the opposite ring and feeding the wire through the ring from the underside. I pull about 3 inches of wire through the ring. I fold the wire over the ring, then feed it underneath the wire running across the back of the painting. Next, I make a loop and feed the wire through the top of the ring and then back through the loop. The loop is behind both the wire running across the back of the painting and the open end of the wire. I pull the wire tight and shape the loop using smooth-jawed pliers. I wrap the loose end of the wire tightly around the wire running across the back of the painting, making sure each loop is tight up against the previous loop. I typically do 5 to 7 wraps. I cut off any excess wire on the side closest to the painting so the end of the wire does not show. I ensure the end is tightly wrapped using smooth-jawed pliers. I pull the wire across the back of the painting and then cut off roughly 3 inches from the D-ring. I use the mark where the bottom of the hook will be and pull the wire tight at that point. I then fold the wire over in the D-ring. Make sure the D-ring is parallel to the back of the painting or it will add extra slack in the wire. I then tighten up the wire around the D-ring and tie off the end following the same process as the first ring. For this end, I do the tightening of the wire by pulling on the open end, not the wire running across the back of the painting. I check to make sure the wire lines up with the mark, and while the wire is held firm, I tighten down each screw on the D-ring, which aligns the rings with the correct angle of the wire. Here you can see the clearance between the hook and the edge of the frame. After scouting the internet, I came across sites saying that the wire mounts should be 1/3 to 1/4 the height of the painting. This painting is 22 inches tall, so using those guidelines, my D-rings, which are at 4.5 inches, should have been mounted between 5.5 and 7 inches. As with anything hanging from a single point, the higher the point on the object, the more likely it will be to hang straight. That is why I like my mounting points leaning towards the higher side. This method also works for both portrait and landscape paintings. If the art does not have a back, you have the option to use eye hooks. I follow the same method for determining location and wiring, but instead of screwing anything to the back, I put the eye hooks inside the frame. Having the hooks inside the frame pretty much guarantees the picture will sit flush up against the wall, since the setback on the hooks will have the wire pulling the frame against the wall. My method of measurement leaves enough wire that the art can still reach the hook on the wall. Although the sawtooth style of mount is quite common, not all art galleries will let you hang paintings using this system. To attach the sawtooth style of hook, I start by measuring the center of the painting. I align the center V-groove with the center of the painting and mark the location of the nail holes. I hold the nails with needle nose pliers and start the nails using a small hammer. If you're really good with a hammer, you can pound them in completely, but there is the risk of hitting and damaging the hook. This is the proper picture frame tool for pressing the nails into the frame. I put a backer board on the face of the painting to distribute the force of the tool. One of the reasons I don't care for the sawtooth style of hanger is because if the artwork doesn't have an equal distribution of weight, it will be difficult to get the painting to hang straight. This painting has an uneven distribution of glass beads, which affects weight distribution. Here you can see the difference between how I wire a frame on the left compared to a store-bought pre-wired frame on the right. The store-bought frame used a slightly lighter wire gauge and left more slack in the wire. Its D-ring mounting points are also much lower on the frame. As you can see, my wiring method has the frame flat against the wall, but the lower mounting points and more slack in the wire lets the store-bought frame hang away from the wall. If you are using a gallery system where the paintings are hung on a cable, it is even more evident how the mounting points and slack in the wire affect how a painting hangs. It is now time to showcase two of my wife's paintings. The first is called The Homestead, which is an 11 by 15 inch watercolor in an 18 by 22 inch rustic barn board frame. The second is Rat-a-tat-tat, which is a 16 by 12 inch watercolor in a 23 by 19 inch rustic barn board frame. You can view more of my wife's paintings and my creations at lizartcreations.com. And remember, have fun, be safe, and create a remarkable treasure.